Welcome. I am Reverend Montclair, and this is Monday Church with Reverend Montclair. Today is Monday, March 3rd, and I am remembering this morning of a trip I took once with my parents, a sailing trip. They rented a small sailboat, and we were in the British Virgin Islands. I remember a bit of a tussle between my parents happened when we were coming into a bay, and apparently, my father had forgotten whether you go to the left or right of the red buoys, and it was an area where there were all these coral reefs. And my mom became very alarmed because he was apparently going the wrong way. My father was a smart man, but also a man that um, had certain personality traits that compromised his best intelligence. Some of that was that he would begin talking and lose track of where he was going, as far as whether when he was driving, and perhaps even when sailing. I don't remember how this incident began in the sailboat, as far as what was distracting him from knowing which way to go on the buoys, the different color buoys. But what happened was my mom intervened, and she was also a smart woman and tended to pay attention to things because she knew my father had certain traits that would distract him from being the best navigator. So he did listen to her, and they went the way that they needed to avoid the reefs at the last moment, which created a bit of chaos. So when it comes to navigating ships, navigating nations, it is wise to know when the leader or the captain of such vessels can be compromised. And it's not necessarily a willing compromise of good judgment. Often it is very much an unwilling compromise. And when I say unwilling, or perhaps unwitting is a better word, when someone needs attention, when someone needs validation, when someone is so focused on the image, on the exterior of oneself, one cannot have a strong and solid, confident interior to direct one's actions from. So it is really important to get to know yourself well. Because if you are easily compromised, if your decisions are easily compromised by the externals, external forces, external people, external flattery, then we are not going to be making the best decisions for ourselves or those dependent upon us. So it could have happened that my father might have crashed the sailboat into the reef and damaged it and caused a lot of trouble and expense and possibly some trauma to his passengers. It was not a deep water. You could see the reef through the water when the waves were not tussling up the ocean surface. But still, there are large challenges when you crash boats, systems, nations, governments. And often it's not even intentional. Could be intentional, but it's often not even intentional. Sometimes we don't know how little we know about a subject. Sometimes we have an ego that needs to be bolstered up. And when it is, then that individual is easily manipulated. So we have a situation here in the United States where it appears that there is a coup going on in our government. So it's like a giant Republican elephant, Trojan elephant, wandered into the government and outpouring of intentional sabotage. We have the Project 2025 people. We have the so-called white supremacist people. We have the I just want to be king persons, which there may be two of or even three of if we include the interfering Vladimir Putin into our own government. So we have a president that is fawning to Vladimir Putin, one who will not say anything against him, one that will only support his intentional suggestions, directives that he puts in the ear of our president. It is maddening. It is crazy making. It is disturbing. It is dangerous. And it is where we are today. And when we do not each speak our minds, speak our hearts, do our utmost to make a difference in a positive direction for our communities, for our country, for our government, speak our minds to our lawmakers, to our representatives. If we're not doing that, we're not doing our part. Because for so long, we thought it was all going to be okay. If we just voted and then we could let them take care of things. Well, that's not how it's worked. Truly, the man that is considered the President of the United States today should not have been allowed to run. Why there were not laws in place to prevent a twice impeached president from running again, I don't know. Certainly there was a ulterior motive to allow that man to run again. And the ulterior motive, I do believe, has a lot to do with this Project 2025. And Project 2025, although cloaked in Christian idealism, is anything but Christian. It is all about power and control and manipulation and male supremacy, and even when I say male supremacy, white male supremacy. And supremacy is such a word that I don't like to use because men that want to be seen as being better than everybody else, thus supreme, are anything but. They are not strong because they are fearful. They are fearful because they have a need to be in control above and beyond everybody else. When you are secure, you do not need to control everyone outside of you. And this is where trauma, childhood trauma, and it could be even the stories we were fed as children that create the trauma. But childhood trauma creates a need to control everything and everyone around you. And that does not make for great leaders. It does not make for wise decisions. It does not make for humanitarian concerns to be at the forefront of a nation. Our country has sunk so low in recent month, month and a week. It has sunk so low. Even relatives of mine in Canada are making comments that they'll never come back to the United States again, never spend another dollar here. I don't like to hear the word never. And that can go for positive and negative. We never thought we'd see the United States in the state it is today. Yet, never is a long time. And what is going on now, which is very clearly a turn towards fascism and totalitarianism, is not going to be permanent. But it could be if we don't do anything. If we roll over and cave, if we accept it, if we think we don't have power. And it's not that we have power, we are power. So when we own our own power to make significant decisions for how we live our lives and under what type of government we choose to live, it makes a big difference. It is not the majority of this country that voted for the current sitting so-called president. There was a lot of manipulation, a lot of voter fraud, a lot of disenfranchised citizens of this country with voter purges of rolls in different states that were swing states. And one of the worst things that we do have is our very own propaganda system in the name of Fox News. Fox News spews lies and creates divisiveness at such a rapid rate that they too should have been called up on charges, that they too needed to be held accountable for inciting riots, that they too are culpable for the destruction of the government of this nation. We are at a turning point, a crossroads. We are at a place where we need to, once again, decide who we are and who we're going to be going forward. We have to look our darkness in the face, own it for what it is, acknowledge the cruelties and evils that the United States, in its founding, have created in so many people's lives. And here we are, 249 years later, still fighting a fight to be a sovereign nation, still fighting a fight for equality, still trying to figure out who we are, and still kind of failing at it. So what does it take for us to succeed at this democracy? It's not about tearing it down. It's not about gutting the programs that we've had, many of which did work well, including the FAA. Air traffic controllers are important. But here we are with an unelected private citizen immigrant from South America allowed access to all of our private data. The billionaire that is perhaps one of the shadow leaders of this country. And why anyone listened to him, I have no idea. Just because a fake name, the Department of Government Efficiency, was given to the group of computer programmers that Elon Musk was put in charge of to supposedly create a more efficient government. But all it's doing is destroying systems that worked, that we did have, so that he can put his businesses at the forefront of the contracts and not have his businesses be investigated for the problems of transparency and integrity and even quality that they were being investigated for. It is bizarre. It is like the Simpsons version of the Trump presidency that they imagined so many years ago. All is chaos. All is falling apart. But something good can come of this, but we have to make it so. Just like any tragic event in one's life, we have to make it so. We have to use it for our betterment. We have to take that struggle, that trauma, that grief, that loss, and turn it into magic. Turn it into something so positive that we can say it's okay that it happened because we're going to make ourselves better. We're going to make this country better. We're going to make stronger bonds with future allies and hopefully restore the ones that we had. So take care of yourself. Try to get good rest. Spend time in beautiful nature. And contact your government representatives. Speak your mind, your heart on your social media. Be there for each other and tell everyone that that does so to stop watching Fox News because they lie. And we cannot afford and cannot create a great nation from lies. So it's time we start telling the truth, and it's time we call out the liars amongst us. And there are good people that watch Fox News, but they don't know that they're being lied to. And the way our algorithms work is the more that we pay attention to that which is false, we get more false news and newsletters and commentators and opinionators in our news feeds. So our computer systems, yes, work against us when we're not working for ourselves. And when I say working for ourselves, meaning that we have to be the final determiner of what is real in this world. We cannot take a commentator's word for things. We have to really do some research. And we'll have to look into what are the reliable news sources. And so far, two of the most reliable news sources, the AP and Reuters, have been banned from the White House. This is not okay. This is not good. This is how fascism works. And I ask that you pay attention. Don't rest on any ideas that it's somebody else's job. It's our job. It's our country. It's our home. Take care of your home. Take care of your heart. And take care of each other. Have a beautiful day. Till next time, I am Reverend Montclair, and this is Monday Church with Reverend Montclair. Be well.